I want to go ahead and introduce Lisa Gavin. Lisa Gavin is from Iowa Legal Aid, and she is the managing attorney with the Lynn County office. And Lisa has been such a wonderful partner to all community organizations and especially Heritage for many, many years. Lisa has spoke to us many times, has worked with many people that we help with. And I think that it's really fair to say that Lisa is an expert in aging legal issues, especially with caregiving. So we are very, very glad to have Lisa here. And thank you, Lisa, for always being willing to help out whenever we call on you for this. So with that, Lisa, the floor is yours. I don't know if you have a presentation slides you want to go over, or if usually you're more of a talker, aren't you?
I'm more of a talker, but I just want to let you guys know that I do have a handout, a thing that you can pass out afterwards, if that's
Absolutely.
okay. Okay.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. And I will try to live up to Kelly's introduction. I'm not sure I can, but I will try. So, as she said, I am the managing attorney of the Cedar Rapids office of Iowa Legal Aid. We cover, so the Cedar Rapids office is one of 10 regional offices for Iowa Legal Aid that are spread out basically in kind of the 10 largest cities in Iowa. And then we cover all 99 counties in Iowa. That is the most important thing that you guys can know, is that any county in Iowa that you are having a problem or a question about, we cover all of them. Okay? And what Iowa Legal Aid does as a whole is we offer free legal assistance to primarily low income Iowans in the areas of safety, housing, and other emergency needs. Okay, so we can help people if they are not safe in their home. Maybe they are experiencing domestic violence or elder abuse or something like that. We can help them to get the protection orders that they need to be safe. We can also help with some divorces and then custody matters. In the areas of housing, we work to make sure that people have safe and as much as we can affordable housing. So we are at the courthouse every day, at the eviction help desk, helping tenants, representing them in eviction hearings, and trying to help people to stay housed during the eviction crisis that's going on right now. We also help people who are experiencing mortgage foreclosures or are buying their house on contract or something like that, who are in danger of losing their housing. We also work with people who are having problems with repair issues with their landlord and things like that. And then under the other emergency needs, we help people who are experiencing some benefits, loss of benefits. They're losing, they've lost their job, unemployment benefits. Maybe they have questions with Medicaid eligibility. Maybe they're being sued on a debt and someone's taking some of their income or some of their benefits or threatening to, and they're afraid. So we do all of those things. But we also, and so when people can apply for our services from 9 to 11 every day and from 1:30 to 3:30 every afternoon except Thursday afternoons. Or they can apply online 365 days a year, 24 hours a day at iowalegalaid.org. And our telephone number is 1-800-532 1275. Again, you don't have to write all this down because there is a PowerPoint that I will make available to all of you after the presentation. Okay. But we also have a legal hotline for older Iowans. This is for Iowans around the state who are 60 and older. This allows us to do a little bit more things and to kind of tailor it to things that older Iowans need and more common have legal problems in this area. They can reach us by contacting 1-800-992 8161. And there are no income or asset limitations for our clients that are over age 60. The one thing that I want to tell you again is that when clients call this number, it's an email they will call in and they will leave a message for our staff, and then they call people back based on if it's an emergency or not, to make sure that we can talk to emergencies right away. So if you call in and you are experiencing something with a deadline or something with an emergency, please let us know. And then the most important thing is we will call you back, but it will be on a 515 number or an 800 number that will not say Iowa Legal Aid. And the reason we do that is because some people call us for things and they don't want other people to know that they're calling us. They may be calling us about an abuse or a domestic violence situation where it can be dangerous if someone else finds out that we are calling them. So that is sometimes a problem. So, what I will tell people is if you call us, know that we will call you back. We will leave a message, and it will be a 515 or an 800 number. Okay? But if you don't hear from us, please call us back because they are trying to get a hold of you. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to talk about some of the payment options for nursing home care, and this is also involves the elderly waiver. Okay, but I'm going to probably describe it as nursing home care just because that's what I'm used to speaking about, but it does apply to both. And this is if you are looking at nursing home care, how do you pay for it? Okay, so I'm going to talk about three things very quickly. The first is Medicare. Medicare can cover up to 100 days of skilled care following at least 3 days of hospital care. Okay. But after the 20th day, the person has to pay $164.50 a day as a copay, and it does not cover stays over 100 days. So this is meant for, your skilled care maybe after a surgery or after an accident or something like that. It's not for long term care. We'll talk about what comes with Medicaid after that. Then some people private pay for their nursing home care. Many people do this until they are eligible for Medicaid to pay for the nursing home care. Okay? And this is sometimes what you'll see is some of the nursing homes will say that they want you to pay for 2 years private pay, and then you can go into nursing home paying for the care. So just know that some people do a little bit of both. And then some people have long term care insurance that will pay for some of their nursing home care. And that's beyond the scope of this presentation. So just know that some people have long term care insurance that will pay for their nursing home care. Okay, what we're going to talk about though is people who know or assume or are going to need Medicaid, which is Title 19 coverage for some of their stay in the nursing home. And what I will tell you is nursing home care is very expensive. So I think a lot of people, no matter how much they have saved for this, are going to eventually need Title 19 or Medicaid coverage for the nursing home. Okay, so people are eligible for Medicaid coverage if their income is less than $2,982 a month and they have less than $2,000 in resources. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Social Security figures out both of those things. Okay, so it's not Social Security, it's DHHS. Okay, so they're going to look at income that is in the person's name. Okay, so generally for nursing home care, the income is the income that each party receives. Okay, so it's generally from Social Security. There may be some 401k, there may be some retirement, there may be some pensions, but it's going to come in one person's name. So it's very easy if they're single. Then they're going to look at what the person's income is. Okay? And if they're married, they're going to look at what the person's income is. And if your income is $2,982 or less, you will be eligible for Title 19. Okay? But you are saying, but I get a little bit more than that, but the nursing home is going to cost like $10,000 a month. How am I going to pay for that? It used to be so too bad, so sad. If you were over income, you did not get Title 19, you did not get Medicaid Title 19 coverage. But then that excluded almost everyone from getting any help for their nursing home care. So, what they have done since then is they have created a document called a Miller's Trust. A Miller's Trust, you are eligible for a Miller's Trust if your income is between $2,982 and $11,713.75. Okay. That is what they have determined to be kind of the average care of a nursing home is that amount. And so, what a Miller's Trust is, I like to think of it as partial Medicaid. Okay, this is for people whose whose income is higher than normal for Title 19, but is not high enough to pay for a nursing home. And what it says is they will create a Miller's Trust that will pay the difference between what you get in Title 19, what you get in Social Security and income, your income benefits, and 11,713 to pay for the nursing home. So what it will do in that scenario is all of your money will go into a trust account, a Miller's Trust. You will be allowed to keep approximately $60 a month for your personal expenses. That is what they let you keep. That is not a lot, but that is unfortunately what they let you keep. It is a slight increase from $50, which it was for about 40 years. But so, and then so they put all your money in a trust. They let you keep $60. They give $10 for the person to manage the trust, and the rest of it goes to the nursing home. And then Title 19 pays the remainder of the cost of your nursing home. So it makes you eligible for Title 19 coverage with them paying the remainder of your nursing home care. Okay. So that is pretty much what your income, how your income works to make you eligible for um, Title 19 care for the nursing home. It's killing me. I usually ask for questions, so I know if you guys are understanding me, but I know that you're writing them down and going to ask me questions later. Okay. So now you got to hear me drone on and on. Okay, but the most important thing there is the income is attributable to the spouse who receives it and the community. So there's one spouse who's going into the nursing home. We'll call him the nursing home spouse. And then there's the community spouse, and that's the spouse that's not going into the nursing home. And the most important thing there is the community spouse's income does not have to be used to pay for the nursing home expense. They look at just the nursing home spouse's income. But if the community spouse's income is less than $4,066 a month, then the community spouse is allowed to keep a portion of the nursing home spouse's income that will allow them to have this amount of income. It is called the monthly maintenance needs allowance. And it is to make sure that people that are not in the nursing home are not being made poor by their spouse being put in the nursing home. Okay. And that's really important to know that if one of the spouses is higher income and he's going into the nursing home, they will be able to transfer some money to the spouse. Not a ton, not all of it, not all, but they may be able to do that. Okay. Okay. Well, I hope you guys are understanding that because now we're going to get into the assets. And this is the part that gets a little bit more confusing. Okay. So the assets are to be eligible for Title 19, you have to have assets under $2,000. Okay. So for a single person who is applying, they are going to have to get their assets under $2,000. But the most important thing for you guys to know is if it is a married couple, you do not have to get all of your assets below $2,000, okay? That is the most important thing. If you take nothing else from this, I want you to remember you need to apply for Title 19 right away, and then DHHS can tell you what resources go to each spouse and how much has to be spent. You will be surprised that more will go to the community spouse than what you think, okay? The reason for that is we do not want to make spouses impoverished to pay for the nursing home. That doesn't help anyone. Okay? You may not be able to have your same lifestyle that you always had, but they do not want to make you impoverished. Okay? So it's easy. If they're a single applicant, all the resources are theirs. They have to spend it down to 2,000. If they are married, then it doesn't matter which spouse owns the property. This is different than income. This is either spouse owns any property, and I mean personal property, land, houses, any of that kind of stuff. It all gets thrown into this big pot. Okay? Then the state will take out any of the property that doesn't count in the pot. Okay? They get to take out, and we'll talk about the property that comes out of there. It's your house, it's your car, it's your personal property, like your furniture, things like that, that they're not going to make you get rid of, okay? So that will come out of the property. Then it will be what's left. And what's left is your bank accounts, your money you have in IRAs, money you have in retirement, just kind of all of your money kind of stuff. And so what the state will do at first is they will divide that in half. They will say half goes to the spouse in the community, half goes to the spouse who's going into the nursing home. Okay? And that is called the initial determination. What you want to do is automatically you want to appeal that decision. Okay? So, another thing, if you don't remember anything else, appeal the first decision that DHHS gives you, okay? And you have 30 days to file your appeal. And then an appeal will usually result in a better allocation of resources for the community spouse, because now they will not just go half and half, but they will look at what the community spouse actually needs to live on to make their decision. Okay, so it takes it to, they give a little bit more thought process and what the community spouse is going to need. Okay, so again, appeal the first decision. Okay. So now let's figure out how they're going to do this. How are they going to figure out what's going to be counted as property and what's going to be counted as assets for the spouse who's going into the nursing home? Certain assets are going to be exempt, which means they're not going to count. in that $2,000 limit, okay? So you get to keep one car, you get to keep all of your furniture, you get to keep anything for prepaid funeral and burial plans, and you get to keep your house if the equity value in the house is less than $603,000. I am going to argue most of us have equity value in our house less than $603,000. I am saying for the people who don't, whose equity value is way over that, that they're probably not going to be applying for Title 19, realistically. Okay. And so what it looks at, you get to take out the car, the furniture, the prepaid funeral and burial plans, and the house, and that's not counted as property towards the spouse going into the nursing home. Then all your non exempt assets of both spouses are considered available to pay for long term care. So, these are your other things. This is where your savings, your money that you have saved for all of, to basically take care of you when you get older. This is where this comes in. And generally, it's going to be divided one half and one half. But if the spouse has income, the community spouse has resources less than $32,532, they will get to keep 100% of the assets. Okay? And they will go up into $162,660 of assets. From 32,000 to that 162,000, they say you guys can split the assets 50-50. Okay? And over $162,000 worth of assets, this is after your house, funeral plans, furniture, all of that are all figured out. Then they're going to want you to pay that for the nursing home. Okay? It's basically saying if you got more than that in assets after your house, your furniture, funeral plans, all of that, your cars taken out, you're kind of wealthy, you know. So they're going to want you to spend that money for the nursing home care. Okay, and that is called the Community Spouse Resource Allowance. Okay, so they get to keep that. Okay, and then, so once they divided all of that and they've divided what goes to which spouse, I'm going to say most of the people that we see in this scenario, all of it or almost all of it goes to the spouse that's in the community once you take out the house, the furniture, all of that. There may be some money that needs to be spent down, but most of it's going to go to that house. But they will be denied eligibility until their resources that are attributed to them are spent down to $2,000 or less. Okay. And so that is why some people go into the nursing home. First of all, they're private pay, and then they pay for a little bit until they get their resources spent down or their income spent down, and then they go to be Title 19 eligible. That's why a lot of places will say, oh, you can be in this facility if you're private pay for 2 years, and then you go to nursing home care. Then you go to private, I mean, sorry, Title 19 care. And so, okay. Um, So that is kind of a little bit about that. So again, the number one thing is to appeal the first decision, okay? Because you want to make sure that you are getting all of it, they figuring out exactly what you need to live on. Okay. So this is another thing. It gets a little complicated, so I'm just going to mention it so that you know. So the community spouse is also able to keep some resources if they're needed to increase their income to that minimum monthly needs allowance. You know, back when we talked about before that they could keep stuff up to their have an income of $4,066. Sometimes their social security or their income may be low enough that they're never going to get that high, but they can take some of their resources and convert them to this is confusing, but a single premium lifetime annuity to make it equal that amount. Okay. That gets kind of complicated, so we're not going to go into that. But just know that sometimes they can do that. Okay. Okay. How about spending down the resources to become eligible for Medicaid? So, the resources that are attributable to the nursing home resident need to be spent down because he's not going to be eligible for Title 19 until they're down to below $2,000. Okay, so how can he spend those down? And the most important thing to know is a lot of times they are used, this money is used for private pay until so that they can private pay for a certain period of time to stay in that particular nursing home. But the most important thing that you need to understand is these excess resources over 2000 do not have to be spent on nursing home care, okay? They have to be spent for the couple, but they do not have to be spent on nursing home care. Some of the ways that you can spend down the resources to become eligible for Medicaid is you can buy items that can be used in the nursing home. Maybe you want a certain bed, maybe you want a certain mattress, maybe there's a chair that the person would benefit from that is nicer or different than what the nursing home provides. You can buy those things for the resident. You can use this money to pay off debts of either spouse. Okay. You can, if you don't have it, you can buy funeral and burial plans for both of the spouses. I mean, this is a good way to spend your money because this is something you're going to, unfortunately, we're all going to need at some point, and it's prohibitively expensive. It's shockingly expensive if you haven't thought about it and you haven't made any plans for payment of it. So it's just something to think about. You can also buy exempt resources. These are furniture or, you know, maybe the spouse needs a car. Maybe they need a nicer car, you know, because maybe your car is in pretty bad shape and they need a better car that's going to not have as many repair needs or stuff like that. Those are some things to look at. You can also pay expenses for the community spouse to make to pay some of their debts down so that they don't have to worry about, credit card debt or other kind of expenses that you might have. You can repair or remodel your home. Sometimes when people are taking care of relatives, they don't think about spending that money on their house. Maybe they've needed a new furnace and they've let it kind of go for a while and things like that. These are things that you can use your money for. Um, you can buy anything that will benefit the nursing home resident or the community spouse. Okay, that's a way to spend the money down. Um, you can buy specific types of annuities. Again, that's way more complicated than today's presentation will be, but just know that you can. And so spending down the resources to become eligible for Medicaid, it is generally best to make these expenditures to spend down the resources only after the Medicaid applicant has been admitted to the nursing home and or has been found to meet the requirements of the elderly waiver, so that you know exactly how much has to be spent down before. Because what I don't like to see is people spending money down that maybe didn't need to be spent. And I'm going to talk about a really sad case because it was at Mercy Family Caregivers, and they had me give this presentation there. And this was a long time ago in like the teens, so like 2016, 2017, when I was just starting out on doing this. And this woman said to me, "We are now ready to apply for Title 19. We have spent down all of our savings." And I just wanted to cry because they didn't need to do that. Nobody wanted them to do that. Now this woman had nothing and was going to be really have a hard time making it when her husband was in the nursing home. And I have just thought about her from time to time, and it still makes me so sad. So the number one thing I always feel like is I say over and over and over again is do not do that, okay? Apply for Title 19 even if you don't think you're going to be eligible. You know your income is too high, you know you got too many resources. But if you apply, they can tell you that, but they can tell you this is what will be attributable to him, this is what will be attributable to you, this is what will need to be spent down, this is what the other spouse will be able to live on. Okay? That is, I think, the number one thing. So, if I wanted to make my speech really short, I would say, okay, everyone who's thinking about going into a nursing home, apply now and find out what you're going to have to do. Okay, the end. But I wanted to at least explain some of this to you guys. Okay. Again, it's so weird that you're not answering questions, asking me questions, but okay. So I'm going to talk about the transfer of assets rule. And this is so before you become Medicaid eligible for 60 months, so for 5 years or 60 months, they look at what you did with your resources and your property and your money. okay? Because what they don't want is you getting rid of all your assets, all your property, all your money to become eligible for Title 19. Because really, that's not fair. So they're saying is they're going to look at how you did it. It's not that you can't give your car, or you can't give money, or you can't do things, but they're going to look at how you gave things. If you give a car to your grandson for $1, that is going to raise red flags. They are going to say you need to get rid of your stuff as a fair market value. Okay? So you cannot, and so if you normally give people $500 for Christmas, A, I want to be part of your family, but B, that is going to be okay. It's the really crazy stuff, like if you're like, okay kids, we are going to have one Christmas and blow it out, I'm giving you all $25,000. That's going to raise red flags. Okay, they're going to say it looks like you're getting rid of your money so that you can be eligible for nursing home care. Okay, so they're going to look back for that 5 year period. And so I'm going to tell you is when they made the law about 30 years ago, they also made this that if any lawyer helps you to do this, that the lawyer can be found guilty and sentenced and go to jail for committing a crime. So, I am going to tell you that I do not know any lawyers who are, no offense, but I love my clients, love to help them as much as I can, but ain't nobody I want to go to jail for, okay? That's just. So, lawyers are going to help you do this in a way that will keep you guys safe and keep you eligible for Title 19 if it happens. Okay? But I'm going to tell you, you can take a risk, because if something happens in month 61, you give away all your property, and then you go 5 years, and then you're on month 61, they don't look back anymore. But it's a gamble. And I'm going to say it's a losing gamble, because it can make you ineligible for Medicaid until all of that money is either recovered back or is spent down. And so it's very dangerous to do. Okay, and then I was just going to talk about things that are not counted as transfer of assets. So just to let you know, if you have if you've had your child care for you for 2 years, and then you go into the nursing home after that, you can give them your house. And then there is some other things. Let's see. Yeah, so they cared for you for 2 years. You could have been in the nursing home, and they kept you out of the nursing home. That is not going to be um an asset. And again, you would talk with DHHS about any of this stuff you're doing to make sure it's all in the up and up and they approve it and all of that. If you transfer any of your assets to a disabled child, or transfer any of the assets to that has been attributed to the community spouse, none of that is going to be a problem. It's just going to be this the kind of crazy stuff where you're giving stuff away for $1 or way less than fair market value. And then Iowa does have an estate recovery law where they can come in once you are deceased and can try to recover some of the money that they spent for Title 19 care. And it's not a lot of things that they can get, but it is some things. They won't take anything away from a surviving spouse who lives in the property or to offspring who are disabled, blind, or under age 21. The repayment is waived until their death. They become 21 or something or that aspect. But just so you know, there are some ways that they can get some of it back. And if you think about it, it's kind of fair because they paid for your care. I I'm just going to tell you, my mom was on Title 19. I am so glad that she was on Title 19. It meant that we did not get any, she had to spend it all down, but she was cared for, and that was the most important thing. And really and truly, that's what her money was for, to care for herself. Okay, I feel like I went through that stuff so fast. So I'm going to let you guys ask any questions that you
Yep.
have.
I was going to say I'm going to open it up for questions here, but give me just a moment to stop the recording. So thank you very much for those that are watching this online.